And we're back. We decided to take on the journey to find some green eggs. There's one of the hash marks I made for this particular chapter. Just going through it, I got it uploaded. It was fairly a lot more simple than I've done in the past. But that was one of the things that kind of reminded me of when I was getting these prepped and ready for the next step, which is cutting in half, which is a little bit more dangerous than I anticipated just with the size, right? Of it, you do have to pay attention. As one is never too broke to pay attention. At least that's what my 4th grade teacher would always say. I'm gonna try something a little different though. I'm gonna try to see if the cut or the slice being at a slight angle, great angle, or no angle, right? We're gonna try something. Like I said, it's not too far-fetched to take it into a scientific method, right? Almost jabbed and stabbed there, see? Which I do have cut with gloves, but I do need one more roundabout spin before I get committed to that, right? But anywho, we were able to get these done. I tell you, man, these things all have their own unique shape, right? They're all circles, they're all spheres in their own little way. Like I said, some look more like eggs, some look like tennis balls, you know. Some look like little grenades if they are they're zest the right way, right? Or if they're skinned the right way. One thing I'd have come to notice already in the immediate between the two fruits is that limes will bear to the air a little faster than my lemons ever did. So that's always kind of a curious thing. It's one of those things that kind of makes me go, I wonder why that is, right? But then again, it's only figuring and analyzing until you write it down, right? When you write it down, that's when you are promoting, that's when you are showcasing, that's when you are presenting your findings. That's what makes it science, right? Can't have science without findings. You know, outside of that, if you don't have science without findings, then you're just messing around, right? You're just messing around on the playground, and there was nothing to be found because it's just a playground, right? Right. Which reminds me, I was just thinking the other day where I had a flash to think, right? Because when people talk about memory, right? Because one area that is growing, and I'm kind of curious as to why, and I'm not sure if it's the input side or the output side or the definition side, as far as the changing nature, right, of a community or a changing nature of a health in a community or a cohort. But one thing that's catching my attention, and I think it's catching my attention just because it hits home for me personally within my family, but just in general as I start to see more and more construction and facility resources being turned to memory management, right? Or Alzheimer's and dementia and things of that nature. And I'm kind of, like I said, curious as to see upon why we are having these raises of that particular sector, right, or that particular area. And the reason why I bring it up is because I had a very sharp memory to think. But okay, let me back up. I said to myself, right, I was sitting there getting a good stretch on, and I was thinking to myself, I said, you know, this town, and I'll get into this town, right? Town, this town being Las Vegas, but town, the word town and the designation of town I'll have another story for that, right? Stories never stop. They're all connected. Ask Kevin Bacon. But I have a whole set of memory bank, right? I have a whole set of of memories, which they don't serve any other purpose, right? I mean, and I'm not saying that they don't serve a purpose, but they don't serve any additional purpose other than being a memory in itself. And you know what I mean? Like there's nothing phenomenal about it for me that makes it worthy of staying in one's memory bank to be recallable at any time and in great detail. And that's kind of the nature of the mundane or the day-to-day or whatever have you, right? Until there's this break. And so where I'm trying to get at in the break of this memory, right, or the corruption, and I'm not talking about corruption as in malicious. I'm talking about corruption as in out of order. I'm talking about corruption as in missorted, right? And missortments happen all the time, right? For whatever reason, Day-Day didn't know the alphabet that day and put Z in front of K, right? Like, just don't blame Day-Day for a missort, right? Don't blame Day-Day for missing pieces, which is what makes that memory frame corrupt, right? So onto this memory frame in one's head, Joe's Crab Shack, right? So there was a joke that a friend put out, and they are awesome, right? They are leaders in their field of food and beverage, and I always get a good laugh or good chuckle when I'm doing this and thinking of them, because some of the things that they say or did, or some of the things that they bring about on their timelines, to me, right, as far as, you know, them telling their stories, them recalling their memories, when they kind of tell me certain things, or I hear how to go about it, more and more are starting to make sense, right? More and more, that kind of goes back to the idea of just keep living, kid, right? And that's what my grandma would say. But anyway, this memory of Joe's Crab Shack, which was, like I said, triggered onto this posting that I had, and it all connects. Like I said, ask Kevin Bacon. That location, right? That location of where that particular store was is no longer there, right? It is no longer even contextually able to be related, right? Like the only people who can relate to you about that, right? About that time and that place, because by the time the place is now demolished, right? When the place changes, not only is very important to identify the time in which it stood, right? Because the time that it stood is now taking up space in memory, right? Because what would happen when, you know, how much more less of a conversation, or how much more less of a connection could people have, right? If not for this place that is now no longer, right? No longer a place. Kind of like I'm curious, in a sense, right, to see the Strip in that way, because the Mirage is now soon going to be a Mirage of its own. The Tropicana is you know, the Trop has now dropped. It's kind of one of those things that, again, makes me go, in how you interpret memory, because if someone, right, and I'm just talking about me now, right? Like let's say we've gotten to the nice age of, you know, 247. 200 and we're 47 years old, because in my very distinct and very firm opinion, a healthcare system that promotes being a successful healthcare system has the average lifespan be 100 for anybody, regardless of their demographic. A successful healthcare system looks like the average lifespan to be 100 years old. Average, not everybody, right? But I'm here at this awesome age of 247. And, you know, and I'm trying to tell my physician, who's only, you know, 63 years old, to my 247, mind you, and I'm trying to tell them about this memory, right? I'm speaking to them, and for the sake of, you know, talking about my generation, right? It's one of the first things to say, like, you don't know what you're talking about, to the elderly, which is just the craziest thing to me. The craziest thing. How you don't get an old Gertrude without a baby Gertrude. Just always recall this, okay? Everyone has their own experiences and ways and means, how they went about in this world growing up. So, anywho, about Lyme. I'm already kind of pretty excited to see how these things juice out and juice on, because the other big part that this particular batch has that the other batches did not, is I decided not to play time clock with this guy, or time clock with this. When I say this guy, I'm talking about the box that I got. But not to play time clock with this particular interface, with these lines, right? That's a misspoke. With these lines, because they're smaller, right? They're already smaller in size. Because that was one of the things that kind of got me when I ended up getting the final count. And the final count, by the way, was 212 plus 34. So 212 plus 34 is 12 plus 34, which is 46. Is that correct? Am I doing that math right? 34 plus 12 equals 46. Yep, so 246. 246 is the number, and I'm still getting some people putting in their votes here, but they won't see this until after, right? Until after the announcement. So it all works out. That's one of those, points of timing, which is one thing I do enjoy about doing videos like this of this nature. For the longest time, I've had definitely people tell me, you need somebody else. You need someone else who's gonna, bounce and vibe off you. And I'm like, absolutely, I agree. And then it kind of comes into like, well, now you need a team. Da 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 da. And for me, I'm like, absolutely, like, I agree. And then it gets to this point. We're gonna see how that works out, because that one was cut in the opposite direction, right? Which is, I'm not sure what the I'll hold that thought with the production. I'm not sure, like, if you call that horizontal or vertical, or if you say cut across the lemon, because if someone says cut this in half, right? I can't see someone cutting it lengthwise, but I'm sure there is a proper name for the directionals, right? Whether it be longitude or latitude of the fruit. And honestly, that's probably what it's called, the longitude or the latitude of the fruit. Because let me tell you, okay, squirrel side, come over here. We're walking this way. Whatever I was talking about, I'm not talking about anymore. Now I'm talking about the social networks of a professional space. There comes a point where I have to ask somebody how they felt that this was an area worthy of being a snob. Like, I don't have a need, or I don't see the need to be a snob in any regard. Right? Now, I definitely understand, right, there are levels to things, right? There's no way you're going to put a Ford Pinto next to a Cadillac and tell me that they're in the same class, right? There's just no way to call that even a competition of thought, right? They're clearly not even in the same classification of something, but to snob or degrade, right? Especially people just trying to add value, right? And I mean this from a playground point of view, right? From a playground as point of view, just because someone's lava is blue and someone else's lava is purple. Number one, if the whole floor is lava, I really don't think you're going to care what color the lava is. It's hot. It doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. Like, why can't we just get along and run away from lava together? No. Instead, right? Instead, you have these certain folks who are very keen on making it that their lava is glitter lava, and your lava is just the plain old classic red lava. I don't get it. And I'm saying this more so, where was this going? Because it was a case in point. I went to a meeting today, and while this was taking its hot seat, right, to wait for me, I went to another meeting to discuss, right, how professionals in a particular space, and I say space in any regard, right, because everyone has a capacity in the space that they are in to make a good difference, right? Not just any difference, but a good difference. Everyone has a capacity to do that, so long as they see themselves focused on it being good, right? If they focus too much on it being anything other than good, that's when problems start to arise. But nonetheless, the matter of feeling like a solution can be superior to another solution when there is no answer, right? It's kind of one of those things of not necessarily less of two evils. Like I've said in the past, like let's not play the game of less of two evils. They're both evil. There's no winning a less of two evils. But when it comes to one of just like, and I want to eradicate that word from my vocabulary, from my what's the word I am looking for? From my dictation. Like, oh Lord. It wasn't until my dad brought it up that a TV show used the word like in a way that was just over peppered, right? Over spiced. And now it's kind of hard to watch it because I hear it in a way that it makes it kind of irritating, right? It makes you twitch to recognize, like, dang, you know, it wasn't until someone told me that I saw it. But where were we going with this? But yeah, I have a feeling that when it comes to how we want to treat people's memories, right? How we want to treat people's spaces, and how we want to treat people's experiences, just to kind of round it all the way back to think, I know it's a memory game, right? We're playing memory, keep up. Memory or Pictionary, pick one. But how we go about, right, having respect for those spaces and memories, because when we don't have respect for those spaces and places, right, we tend to start disrespecting people's faces. And no, I didn't just pick up a rhyming dictionary this morning. These are just devices, right, that I've used in my means and ways of going about my day-to-day, right? When I go about my day-to-day, sometimes the works of rhyme, right, or the works of verse, meaning to have things that flow, right, that flow. I can't think of which way else to go as far as flow. Mr. Woodwind, if you get a chance, look at Mr. Woodwind flow. I'll have to post it up. Maybe I might post it up there. But anyway, see, it's a game of memory, not Pictionary. Pick one. But yeah, but if you find yourself in spaces, right, where people are disrespecting those spaces, that's where I was going with that. See, and that's why the rhymes, again, the rhymes and the mnemonics. Is it mnemonics I'm thinking of? MNEMOINC, something, something, something. I know I misspelled that, but it starts with an M. MNEN, mnemonics. Mnemonics. NEMONICS. Right? NICS. So it starts with an M, mnemonics. But yeah, just memory shakes, right? Or things that allow you to capture those things, because that's what I'm kind of asking myself, or what I'm kind of going down even further. You're kind of falling around the rabbit hole, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You know, like I said, it kind of goes here, there, everywhere, but it's all together. I promise. It's about lime. It's about limes. These gorgeous green fruit. We're almost there. But yeah, when people don't have that space, or, you know, when that space is not respected, or that place, right, of someone's memory or someone's experience, because that's what it really is, right? When you tell someone they're crazy, and I'm talking about in the context of when I was saying that you had Gertrude talking about playing on the playground at Joe's Crab Shack, right, circa 1998. And I'm just making stuff up as I go, but I'm saying that as far as, like, if you know where I'm talking about, or if you know the area in which I'm saying, you know, that means that you too, right, shared an experience in that time and place. And when we start making these experiences known to people, right, like, because when you're in a time and place and you're trying to figure out solutions, or you have things named a certain way, or you have certain things in classes, right, like, there are some, like, now people, right, people just don't, and I'm saying this from my experience today from this meeting, right? Because the prompt of it was, how does this professional space, you know, what does this professional space owe to an environment? And for me, one of the first things that kind of comes to the question of it, not only to say, you know, we owe respect, and I think that respect is owed to a greater amount of people that, for whatever reason, is not being expressed on a grand common level. And that's why I'm saying it's almost like people are forgotten, right? It's almost like people are forgetting at higher rates, and this is kind of, like I said, it's kind of going back to the memory care surge and this, that, and the other, but it's kind of getting to this point where I'm like, is the memory of society falling into corruption? Are we missorting, right? Are we mislabeling? Are we not putting away in the proper places? Like what has happened where we seem to be in a stage of repeating? And when I say we, I do mean the U.S., or I do mean America. And on a grander scale, you know, on a grander scale, I do mean people, right? I mean, for real, if you can name a wall in history that has kept people out, show it to me, because there's not a single wall. And again, this is less of the narrative, right, and more of just some of the facts that we've seen, or some of the facts that we come across, or some of the facts that we happen to find out because we figured, we analyzed, and we found out, we produced it, right? And when I say we in that regard, or in that context, you know, I mean those particular nerds or artisans who said, hey, I tried blowing glass that way, and let me tell you, it did not shimmy the way you think it should shimmy. And which that's a joke that I'm gonna try. What's today? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday? No, today's Tuesday. Wait, what's today? Today is about lime. Lime. It's that lime time, y'all. We're switching gears. We're segueing. Follow me this way and take me to your leader, because we're gonna go and talk off on another tangent, because we're about to start juicing. We're about to start juicing in this piece, because we are now done and stacked in a way that is a lammy good time. Hopefully everyone is ready for a very sound, insane 4th of July. Part of me feels like this 4th of July, just an inkling, you know, just an inkling of seeing how it kind of goes down. Even though today we're still not far and few in between. But I feel like with the way economically, right, the way economically things are presenting themselves in the markets and in the you know, corner store conversations with one's neighbors, 4th of July is going to look to be very quiet in regards to hoopla, right? If anything, I need to follow up on how that hoopla handled out in Hawaii last year. They had an ordinance in Hawaii. I think I posted about it, so it might pop back up. But they had an ordinance last year that basically said you can't have fireworks. And I'm going to repeat this. It's going to be a thing that I stand behind in its entirety, which is to say that if you do not allow people to celebrate, they will riot. That's those are the only choices you have. And for a lot of people, you know, that comes with a nah, right? That comes with a nah. And I always get a chuckle. We're transitioning right now. This is kind of what's going on. Like I said, when it came to, I enjoy doing this by myself, because it's not to say that I'll still be talking to myself out loud, right? Because we are following through a process, and we're making our way through it. And sometimes making your way through it is talking it out and speaking it out, and recognizing that sometimes how something is said is not how something is read, and how something is said or read is not the way that it's written. And so you kind of have to, again, put yourself in place, right? Put yourself in place before you start disrespecting someone's face, or, you know, playing in someone's face to tell them that they don't know what they're doing. I am looking for something real quick. Oh, there you are. Come here. I'm looking for, I don't know what to call these. I call them catch cups in my LEMs, but I don't think that's the proper name for them, or the name I want to keep for them. We got our swing arm here. There's only so much juice can do to entertain, right? one of the other things I'm doing as far as the economic nature, once more, yeah, but you could have, it'd be definitely easier to kind of do these things and do them in a way that's a little bit more wider audience, right? Rather than the audience of self or audience of the love and the few, or actually, yeah, the love, the few, and the many. You know, the 90. Look, the 90 to the 9 watching a 1, 100% of the time, right? Anyway, before I trail down that way, we just look down there. We're not gonna walk down there. But as far as being able to, again, put yourself in a process and being able to explain this process, when it comes to partnerships or when it comes to production, right, producing something, I'm just taking my day time right now. So if you leave day alone, or tell Tragic about it, I'm sure they'll handle it. Yeah, you have to have a certain level of trust, and I'm not talking about trust as in like trust. But you gotta have a certain level of synchronization, right? You have to be able to just put in a sequence that everyone's dancing to the same song, to the same step, to the same rhythm, and as easy as it is to say that, as easy as it is to say that, it's one of those cliche moments of easier said than done, right? But then if you try to have what you can't make up in process, and what you can't make up in people, you make up in technology, right? You make up in computers, you make up in programs, and sometimes the program still doesn't work, right? And not just necessarily from a faulty design, but just from a nature of relationships. Like I said, the nature of relationships, and sometimes when spaces and places and faces start to dissipate, right, or separate from each other. Is it separate, dissipate? Is dissipate the word I'm looking for? Dissolve. When they start dissolving, within an area, right, it becomes more difficult. It becomes more difficult to recognize. Now, recognize what? I'm still kind of figuring what that means or what that looks like. But for now, and for me, what it looks like is not engaging, right, until it becomes clear, not engaging with that not hysteria. What's the word I'm looking for? Not dealing with confusion is not the word. Hysteria is not the word. I am not going to deal with the indecision's not the word. What's the word I'm looking for, you guys? You know what's the last word you remember thinking, I'm never going to misspell that word ever again? I can tell you, mine is together. I know how to spell together. I'm saying it as far as, now granted, I'm a full-blown adult, but so this is definitely, this is going back to those memories, right? The memories of recognizing, do you remember when you couldn't do something, right? This is kind of going all the way back. Like I said, all these thoughts connect. They might be a degree or two step away from Kevin Bacon, ask him. But this goes back to that gratitude, right? Because how do people lose a sense of being grateful, right? And the particular sermon that I caught in those catch-up church services that I've had in the last month, it kind of detailed something of a loss of memory, right? Or a glitch in memory. And for me, if you don't have those kind of in-depth experiences or exposures to people, to have respect for those things, right? When it was back then, or if you can't relate, okay, let me pause on that rambling, trambling thought to say, if you can't relate to people by using the past, you have to relate to people in the future. And I know that for one sake of this line of thought, or one sake of this argument, right? And I don't want to call it an argument. I'm just saying a position or a outlook to it. Now, the one thing I do like that I'm already seeing, squirrel, hold that thought. Hold on, because I can remember this one easily, but oh, okay, I got it. I'm sorry, I had to see a lapse. Like I said, when I say a lapse in memory, I could be thinking about 40 things at one time in all seriousness, to the point that that's why I'm always writing stuff down, or I look like I'm looking for Pepe Sylvia in my notes, which I was so happy. I was so happy to finally download my Post-it note wall. Oh my gosh, this Post-it note wall wasn't stressing me out, but it was one of those things that just stayed on my list. But anyway, if I can go back to the first squirrel, right? I didn't forget him. He just ran up this tree. There's no seeds, so this right here is already going to be a little bit easier because I don't see any seeds being collected in this catch string, which kind of Squirrel Junior to this squirrel. I did see one regard of farm. I saw one regard of farm that they purposely bred seedless melons or mandarins or whatever, mandarin oranges. And a lot of people are like, they're killing off the bees, and I can't fully agree to that part, but I can definitely see where their concern is, right, of the environment. So this is all going back, because that's what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, what do I owe the environment as a professional in this space? And when I mean as a professional in this space, I mean this particular generation of time, this generation of work, this generation of industry, right? Because every generation has their own generational industry, and we're no longer, like, we popped the .com, right? And now we're coming into the Sentiment. Is it Sentiment? Yeah, Sentiment, not Sentiment, Sentiment. Which is not anything new, right? The whole Gen X population definitely gave us the imagination, excuse me, to recognize how, and to recognize the Terminator and things like that. So going back to two breadcrumbs ago, if you're following along, if we can't relate to each other in the past, right, as our pasts are becoming more and more diverse, right? Because once upon a time, you didn't really have to deal with a whole bunch of different people, and I think part of diversity thinking and part of diversity training and diversity outlook should include that historical standpoint that, and I know that, and I think that's just a matter of saying that diversity of age. I know one thing: limes definitely sting a lot more than lemons do, as far as citrus goes. I've had more limes in my eye tell me about myself than I ever have with the crew of lemons. But yeah, that's just kind of a generational thing, and finding a generational gap, because that's where I'm finding myself personally. Okay, pause. So we have this one that's kind of cut in an obtuse angle. Let's see if that makes a difference. Not entirely, and not exclusively. So glad to have that experiment. We can keep doing it and find our way. But yeah, I just find myself wondering, how do people come about thinking that snobbery was something appropriate? And again, when we talk about changing the environment, when you talk about changing the environment, yes, I'm skipping along. We're coming back. We'll edit later or follow along. Thank you. When you talk about changing the environment, you're talking about something that affects everybody, right? Not just you, not just your family, not just your immediate space, the environment, right? How big and how scaling do we want to call our environment? Because what fits in one environment may not fit in another environment, but if that environment fits in this environment, then who are we to say? And that's more boxy talk, and I'm saying boxy because I had a box of a problem last night. Was it last night or the night before? I was able to figure that out, but it goes back to kind of the meme, right, or the running joke of we're all in boxes. It's a box, right? Just check the box. It's a box. We live this entire way just to make it to a box, which kind of goes back to a joke of, the one who made it won't use it. The one who uses it doesn't know they're using it, and the one who sells it, didn't make it. The one who makes it doesn't need it, and the one who bought it doesn't know that they bought it. What are you? And it's a coffin, right? Which, that reminds me, I was able to. So one of the other things that this particular endeavor comes about, right, is getting out to the public and being able to share in this learning, right? Sharing this happiness of occurrence and taste and flavor, whatever other happy-go-lucky marketing words you want to throw in there to make it a full Dilbert statement. But part of that involves getting out there. So one of the next steps, we're going on to the next topic. Just follow me there. I love when it works that way, but sometimes I can't stand it because finish a thought once in a while. We will get out there though. We will get outside and serving this awesome tea to the people. It's just a matter of being able to find out, right? Going back to spaces, places, and faces. Things that help us remember why we do what we do and be thankful that we have the things to do it. Hallelujah. As a matter of fact, let me wash my hands because they're getting kind of sticky. But as I wash my hands to get to the next level of this, you can look up verse of the day and get it going to recognize, right? Going back to that focus, going back to that gratitude, and going back to that understanding. Today, the verse of the day is Ephesians 6:1. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. So, if I had to put that down to the lowest denomination of understanding, I see that as fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power that be. Trying to think. Get a little sip of water there. What happened to Northwest Airlines? Now that I'm thinking about it. I think who bought them? Was it American Airlines that bought Northwest Airlines? I always found that to just be such a funny. And Northwest Airlines, they had to have been at least around until 2015-ish. Okay, nope. Let's go. Well, no, let's just leave it alone. We will see this later and look it up later. But one of my favorite things about them was I was like, did these marketeers really say Northwest Airlines? Did they really just put NWA on the back of their entire flight panel? And for me, it was one of those things where I was like, so who signed off on that? Did no one check this out? Did no one put a search? Did no one, have a drill sitting in the front office to ask about this? No? Nobody? Okay. Which is fine by me, right? Fine by me. What is it? Andy Grammer? It's fine by me. You never leave. It's so simple that it's fine by me. I think it's fine by me if you never leave. It's fine by me. If we stay like this forever, it's fine by me. Something to that extent. That's one of my That's one of my not necessarily recent phenomenons or recent likes, right? But go to just a switching nature or switch of topic. Go to some of your songs that you like, or go to the songs, and I'm sure you're like, well, of course I know every word to my favorite song. It's my favorite song, Tragic. I get that. Okay, I totally get that. But for the ones that maybe not your favorite song, or maybe ones that just kind of you just find yourself singing in the elevator, right? Try to put yourself into just reading the lyrics of a song with a straight face, very calmly, right? And I'm not saying like it would be a mess to read them not calmly, right? But to be able to just read it in common voice, right? And I say common voice to say, like I said, it's very robotic. You'll find a lot more rhythm in between the lines, which is its own unfortunate nature of English, right? That's one of those, man, English is being so sneaky when it comes to verse, word, rhythm, stanzas, all the mechanics of English, right? Because I'm kind of sitting back in my head thinking to myself that of course English and math, every department has their level of snob. Every department has their level of snob. So that's not the issue, right? The issue now for me is how are these new lines going to be drawn as we enter into this level of technology, right? Not computers. On a computer, that thing's just a big old calculator. In this realm of technology, and what I mean by technology, I mean the tools that help us thrive, right? Not just build, but thrive. And thrive past the technicalities and thrive past some of the small shortcomings of our nature, right? Our nature to walk up straight, our nature to assemble, our nature to protect oneself, right? It's always curious to me that when people tell me stories, like I said, we're transitioning all throughout different topics, so just follow me. Talking aloud, saying aloud, which, as I say this before I start talking about people being backed into a corner, because no one puts baby in a corner. Going back to this, if you have not sent me your address, right, I know one thing, I got 4 other addresses. Once I had said, hey, I don't have your address, I definitely got some ping, 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 right, different types of pings of address. So I'll say it again. If I do not have your address to send you samples, right, or send you goodies, in the form of this Nevada Sun Suite, then send me your address, right? Let's fix that. It's no big deal. Send it to me in the DMs. Do not put it out there. I need nobody and anybody knowing where you are but you and I, if that be the case for you. That's the case for me. So going back, right? Going back, but not to Cali. We're going back to this topic. The topic being backing someone into a corner, right? Yeah, we're all over the place. Get over it. Backing someone into a corner. When people tell me about times and instances, right, where they're like, well, I don't know why they did that, right? I don't know why they did that, and it doesn't make any sense. And then I say, well, recall the context and the story for me. Recall for me. And so then they do, and then I asked them. I said, now, if you were in their position, right? If you were in their position, let's just. Like, we don't have to go full-blown empathy, right? Because sometimes when it comes to empathy, you have to, again, have that relative to the past, right? And have a connection into the future. Because I can tell you right now, if you have no connection to the future with someone, I have a hard time. I won't say I don't, but I have a hard time. I have a hard time believing that you can have a certain level of empathy for someone that you don't share a future. When I say a future connection with, I'm saying that you have a concern that a connection exists with them in the future. Not necessarily to say this deep Kevin Bacon connection, but one in which you have a concern that they make it to the future. Now that we are coming to see that loyalty is not what lies in past connection, but now future connection, right? It's getting to that point in the nature of technology and future When he backed him into a corner, what do you think was going to happen? You know, like when you back something in, and I'm saying this to just even in life, right? Don't touch that. The iron's hot, right? But the iron's hot is definitely something way beyond backing someone into a corner, right? That's definitely a mano a mano situation that you shouldn't even really find yourself in, but sometimes you do. But when you back living things into a corner, you know, don't expect it to play possum, right? Which I kind of laugh. I need to make this comic strip. I have a little doodle of a possum, and his name's Lazarus, and the reason being is because, you know, Lazarus was taken and Jesus brought him back. That's what kind of reminds me of a possum, right, named Lazarus, and then that's its own, you know, its own humor point to it. But he's just kind of this dude. It's kind of on the same regards as you know, Kenny from South Park. So if you know or you're familiar with that character, then I'll leave it at that. But yeah, as far as we're switching topics again, as far as switching gears, the summer coming into play, it's already starting to get a little hot. I can't say that it's getting a little hot, but not one that I would think you cancel plans for. If anything, it can't be that hot because we're getting, according to going back to, you know, I was down at the district office. In our district, our authorities, right, our good nature authorities, not the authorities of evil, as you say what you want to say, it is what it is. There's this uptick, right? Apparently there's this uptick of mosquitoes. And to me, I'm like, so wait a minute. So where are these mosquitoes, you know, where are they hanging out? Because we don't have that much water. I mean, we have water, but we don't have water like that. You know, so where are these mosquitoes hiding? Because and who they biting on? Right? And that's one thing I like. If people actually took in the and this is going back to you figure, you analyze, and you find out the best response, right, to an answer. But I feel like when you start looking at cases, right, you can start attributing it to the environment when it's isolated. You know what I mean? When you isolate the problem, I feel like the environment speaks to itself, and it's to our responsibility as citizens, it's to our responsibility as individuals, entities, neighbors, right? It's our responsibility to incorporate the balance, right, of it all. Being on top of the food chain, bleh, got a whole tongue that gets in the way. Being the top of the food chain is a responsibility, you know? Because I'm asking myself because that wouldn't be the case, right? That's not something that you would see in the society of steak, but I was just thinking about a dog ordering a pizza. You know what I mean? Like if your dog could intelligently order themselves food, like your dog could, if you built an interface that allowed your dog, depending on what kind of dog you have, or what you train the dog to do, which they have automatic feeders and things like this. Never mind. They do got these dogs and cats talking now, though. That to me is kind of its own funky adventure into technology, right? Because people have given up on communicating with other people so much so. And I know that's not the case, right? Not every innovation is a realms and means to escape or flee, right? Like I think that's another reason why a lot of the doomsday narrative doesn't work. when it comes to the futuristic planning, right? Because if you start the futuristic planning meeting with a doomsday advisory, you kind of brought the room down, Chet. You know, like you kind of brought the room down. This is a futuristic planning meeting, and you're talking about doomsday. Like, what are we doing here? Which again just kind of goes back to having everyone has their own perception, right, as to what they think something's going to happen or not happen. Because, like, for example, for another writing off example or rambling off example, oh, we're going to try this. So, like I said, I need to find out what the actual name is, or what, you know, like as far as cutting something by the latitude or the longitude, or longitude, latitude. But I'm curious. Nothing different. just another squeeze. But yeah, not all innovation is a means to flee, right? Because I feel like this goes back, and I feel like I said it in episode 0 or chapter 0. You know, anything that you run away from will catch you. Anything you run towards, you will catch. So long, right? So long as one's attitude is in gratitude. And I think I said that whole spiel and thing. Which again, is all coming to rhyme to keep the memory fresh and to keep the understanding very clear, right? The future is bright. That's as clear as I can make it. You know, even with, you know, we moved on from the lemons, right? We moved on from the lemons of the issue to the limes of this, right? And you know, when it's lime, it's prime time, baby. It's prime. Which kind of reminds me, I need to look at I have a lot of different little reels, right, and projects that I'm working on. Don't tell front office. Look, say don't tell front office. We're always working on something. But I wrote something years ago, and I remember distinctly that in that particular shot, I was wearing a prime hat, and I don't know where that prime hat went. In the meantime, right? A lot of clothing that I find myself thinking about, right, in general, as far as like, I wonder what happened to that hoodie. I don't. Some shirts I do wonder, as far as like band shirts, because there's only a very small handful of bands that I would even buy a shirt to begin with. So of course I don't have my thoughtful think like, oh yeah, I remember where that shirt is or is not. But I don't know where that, you know, I don't know where they went, and but I know I don't have them, right? I know I don't have them. But that's it's really okay. You know what I mean? It's really okay to think, because even when it comes to the longevity of things, because going back to memory, right? And going back to having those connections with people, and going and having those understandings with this diverse, right, space, right? Diverse space of thought, because we did not grow up in the same time, place, or space. I had the agent that I was talking to yesterday at the district had a book entitled 3,000 questions or something along those lines, right? They found it at Target. They don't pay me, so they don't get to say their name, or they don't have me say their name correctly. But she found it at a retail store, and the reason why she had brought it up, because I saw it in a way that I asked her about it, whether or not she enjoyed it, or that it gave her a good outlet, right? A good outlet of time. Because that's one thing I love about this particular activity. It does give me quite a bit of output, right? A visual output to see how time passes, which is very important when we go and talk about other realms and means of occupation. But, however, back to this book, she brought it up to say that she got it because she had just her first daughter had just turned 1, and she was doing it for herself, right? To pass the time and fulfill herself, or not fulfill, but to fill herself, right, with positive environment, right? Positive exercises, positive experiences. She was doing it to do that, which is to say, pick up a book and read something. Next topic, because I'm actually pretty excited about this. But anyway, she said she was doing it because she's going to fill it out and have it so that you know, when she was having this conversation with her daughter, you know, years on down in, they would have something to talk about and venture from, because the kind of questions that were in there, they're beyond what's your favorite color, right? They're ones that allow you to really have a capture and exposure and an experience with another entity, right? With another being, that it triggers thought, right? And that's what it really is, right? When people say it's a thought that counts, it's not really that funny of a statement. It's kind of true. And I'm saying that to say, depending on what narrative and direction, right, those thoughts are surging towards. As much as I don't like the word synergy, right, that's kind of how it happens when you're with people. And so when people are not having these connections, right, because that connection is very strong, right? Mother-child is a very strong connection, so that's not something that can be interfered with in the same regards of a society, right? When we start talking about further connections along the way. For me, it was kind of like, oh, that's exactly, I agree with her, and we celebrated with the idea that someone captured it in a title, right? And we can talk about it now, here, today, and we can talk about it there, now, and then. But that's one of those things of like books, right? And I'm just saying, as far as the connections of something in a time and place fashion, in that, do we really want to make, and this is kind of the question, right? This is a question that I'm proposing to myself in this self-rambling, but also upon discovery, right? Upon discovery of the flapping gums, to think, is it location that we want to place memory on? Because a part of me, not part of it, but part of me is saying no. Do not base it on a location sec more than the experience in which we find ourselves. And I think now that people have conquered this distance problem, right? Because at once upon a time, if you wanted to go from one side of the country to the other, you had to take the Oregon Trail and you know, pray and cross your fingers that we made it without dysentery, and Mary and Lou didn't hurt the oxen, right? Now that we've solved the distance problem, right? And now even more so with the works of networks, greater and faster than ever before, historically speaking, and only getting faster, right? Like historically, or not historically, but exponentially. My card is caught up, so give me a second. It doesn't want to turn the way I want it to turn. There we go. So we do get some pulp. We don't get seeds, but you get its own kind of concern and sake, right? What kind of life doesn't have seeds? And quite a few do, right? Quite a bit of life doesn't have the realm of seed, but a healthy life. Or it's not the seed that it needs to grow. It's faith. Where was I going? What was I rambling on about? Books, of course, books. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that as far as, of course, books. I love reading. I love reading to, again, engage those connections with others, right? As far as all, like, yeah, I read the same book. Before I go on about a title that I'm very interested in and very excited for its release in the next week, I think, or so. It's very awesome, and this is going back to that meeting, right? Meeting of the minds to question how and what we are to supply an environment, right? As a society, and not just the environment in which we operate in, but the environment in which we take up space. Right? More on that later. But I have to say, when you find yourself in a room full of people, it's for me, and like I said, when I say I love reading, so notice I say I love reading, but I don't follow that up with I love book clubs, right? Because it's kind of interesting. It's an interesting feel to the room, or it's an interesting energy in the room when everyone's read the same book, yet everyone's reading a different story, right? Or everyone interprets something a little different, or even worse, right? It's a book that is enticing you to act in a way that others don't. And so now you have an entire room full of people trying to influence each other, and then they cancel each other out by a Carnegie coefficient. You know what I mean? And I'm just saying all those science words to say that they, everyone reads the same book, but gets a different story, and so then it becomes a very entertaining thing, right? It becomes a very entertaining thing for me personally, because a lot of these titles are I don't want to say outdated is not the proper word. Obsolete's not the proper word. Antiquated might be might be the best word, but I can see how that word is rude, right? If you call someone old, calling someone old is different than calling someone like, what makes old versus antique? And do you have to be old to be an antique? You know what? I just asked myself something I did not even kind of consider to think, right? Like, what makes an antique? Because is antique a style or is antique a status? Right? And like I said, this is me just speaking upon it about Lyme. But what are some things you're looking forward to in the fall? Because, seasons definitely come and go now. I say now for me as an individual, as time goes on, time goes by. Seasons are definitely now something of a blink for me. Just yesterday that we were in winter is how I'm interpreting and feeling it, which I know is not true, but it feels that way, right? But I think now that I'm saying this aloud, right, now that I'm talking on it or I'm speaking on it, I think one amazing thing that came about this last turn, right? This last turn of the earth, last spin, is when you find yourself being productive, right? When you find yourself in the midst of severing those connections, right? Those memories, and I'm talking about memories because that's where those connections fall into place, and that's where I'm coming in on a personal scale of it all. Say one more doggone time, so honey bun and a half. You find yourself making, slashing the connections that don't need to be there, and establishing the connections and repairing the connections that need to be there. Because some connections, I will say, in the realms of trying to, cut out the bad, you end up injuring the innocent, right? And when you try to cut out the ugly, you cut out the ugly, but you end up hurting the bad. Because the bad can be restored, right? The ugly not so much. I know one thing, I'm yielding way more juice from limes than I did my lemons. So there is something to say about this occurrence here to get it going. But yeah, what are you looking forward to in the fall? We should have a pretty decent fall, election aside. I think a lot of people they kind of take it out of proportion. Okay, I won't say that they are overreacting, because that's not, like when it comes to your system, especially your government system, and this is anybody, right? This is anybody, anything, any group, any organization. When it comes to your government system and the system that you promote to the world to say, this is what we do, and the world goes, that's what you do. Like that's what you do, and then they look at it, they come back and look at each other and go, we're screwed, right? Because that was the exemplar example, so say, right? Ow. I found myself touching my face, so give me a second. When you start getting them face twitches, I don't know, for me personally. If you are not familiar with the idea that you need to stretch your face, I'm here to tell you right now, stretch your face. Kind of segueing away, right? Because I'm telling you, I forgot that was this fall, but we'll be okay. I'm looking forward to the Olympics. I think the Olympics is coming. I don't know. We can find out. We have to wash our hands again. Give me a second. The Olympics. The first. Olympics about to get lit. Grab my water here real quick. Hold on. Squeezing season. Let's get back to squeezing. It's about lime. It's about to go down. Go down, go down. Going down under the sea. Going down under. Underneath the sea. Underneath the sea. Take it from me. I don't know. I don't know as far as the song. I have not seen the Little Mermaid. Like, okay, I know the story of the Little Mermaid, right? There are so many movies and medias and things. I don't. I know the story. I know the characters. I mean, not necessarily know, but I know of, right? I know the story. I know of the characters, the plot, and quite frankly, the ending, right? But when it comes to the actual playwright or the actual execution of certain these movies and things, no idea. I just know Under the Sea because Sebastian was Jamaican, right? Which it took Disney 50 years, okay? Let's be real. It took Disney 50, touching my face again. It took Disney 50 years to produce a visually black character, right? I think it was 1949 to 2009. And I was still in high school. I remember thinking, wow, 50 years, y'all. Like 50 years. Like 50 years. And this is 2009, right? So 2009 is even further, not necessarily even further, but from 1949, right? So 1949, and you had the 50s, which the 50s had its problems, and the 40s had its problems. We were, in this whole world war, and I'm putting a diminishment, right? I'm not saying diminishment, but I'm what's the word I'm looking for? I am putting to level how serious that was, because again, let's put this in context. 1949, right? 1949, we just got over a world war, the Second World War, right? Which is always kind of funny when people say, World War One. I'm like, the Great War. They're like, yeah, World War One. I'm like, you can't have war. You can't have a World War Two without a World War One. And you don't call war, like, at the time of World War One, they weren't calling it World War One. It was the Great War because it was a war at the time. But no one can tell the future, right? Right? Don't come find me. Anyway, Sebastian the crab, right, was a Jamaican crab. But so people would put assumption that he's black, which I don't know why. Funny enough, right? I've met two white Jamaicans. I've met two white, and I say white as far as like in Caucasian seeing, right? If they didn't open their mouth, and that's the biggest thing, right? It's a very, very, very strong accent. But if they didn't open their mouth, no one would know the difference or qualify, right? Qualify to think different, which is one reason why you have to ask people, right? You have to inquire, you have to connect, you have to get to know people. Good, let me tell you, woo, Dolly made a jerk chicken that made you go, you a real jerk. Like, don't talk to my chicken like that. You know what I mean? As far as it was good. It's been a minute since I found a good Jamaican place here. But anyway, Sebastian the crab, right? People are like, well, what about Sebastian? What about him? That's Sebastian the crab is not a Tiana, okay? But Simba is not a Tiana. All I can say is Tiana, because that's the only one that exists. Honestly, I still even haven't seen that movie, right? So when it comes to different movies and cinemas and ideas and media houses, this, that, and the other, yeah, maybe it is time to venture out and start making lists of need to see, buy the seas, when to see. I'm trying to think. There's one movie that's coming back out in theaters here soon for the sake of being in theaters so people can see it in theaters. I think it is Lion King. I think Lion King's coming back out this summer in I want to say select theaters. I'm talking about like your different movie houses like Cinemark, AMC. Who else is a Cinemark, AMC? Those are the two big cats here for the most part. There's one more and it's over there. I'm not even sure the Palms Casino is even open anymore. They've gone through so many different transitions. I did hear that the Bad Boys movie was good, so I'm happy to hear that, and just in passing and kind of connecting, two thoughts together to go to the next. I did hear that Bad Boys was a good movie, and that it was successful on a box office scale. So that's good. That's nice. I'm happy that it worked out well, especially for a franchise that's been around for a very, very hot minute. I'm trying to think when the first Bad Boys franchise was, and it has to be at least 12 years, I want to say. 2012? No, I saw Bad Boys before 2012. Yeah, no, Bad Boys is probably like 2008. If not prior to that. I'm about to do nothing here. I'm about to get these things done. Cause I got a whole bucket that we gotta get to squeezing. We got to get to squeezing this season. We might end it on that note because we're coming up on an hour and 15, which isn't too bad for how many halves, right? For how many halves that we got going. And after this point, or after this part, the only thing we have to do is stir in our sugars. But I'll be sure to probably post up the final color, because that's one of the biggest things that I'm really excited for this recipe. Is the chromatic nature of limes in comparison to lemons, right? That even when life gives you lemons, you're on time when you get the lime, right? When the lime shows up, that's when you know. That's when you know. And I think that these limes, right? These limes may have me going slightly coconut, but I'm about to put it on them and find out what we can whip up here. Because like I said, I can kind of see how they are very similar. And when I say they, I'm talking about lemons and limes, right? I can see how they're very similar, but I can see how they're very different in application and feeling. I know the fruit have feelings. No, the fruit do not have feelings. If anything, the fruit's like, man, squeeze me and move on. Right? Juice me and move on. Just have to think to yourself. If you ever get a chance, I think it's still on Hulu. I ended up canceling Hulu because they have me confused with somebody else who thinks that I'm gonna be paying $140 a month, right, for 3 shows. That again, not to say that I could reenact those 3 shows, right, in a heartbeat, or I can reenact those 3 shows in my mind as I go through my memory. Like I said, going back through memory and figuring what's important, what's not important, to retain, like $140. Again, it's not as though, it's not as though it's $140 for me watching it 6 hours every day. Between myself and my family, right? No, $140 just to sit there and look pretty. I'm good on it. But on there, what was I going on about Hulu? Because Hulu they have a show, but why was I going on about this show though? It's called Better Things. I feel like that was where I was. I feel like that's the tunnel that I was going down. Because again, it's awesome. I can't remember where I was gonna go with that. It's okay. It's okay. I'm trying to think, what else have we immediately learned, right, in the last ever so growing passion of a day? I think those are the greater instances and cases, right? Like I said, it's a learning process day by day, and ones that you have to come out with better questions, right? And you want better answers of the world, you have to think of better questions to God, because only God can tell you. And I'm saying that to say that a lot of people, self-included, find themselves in cloud of confusion every now and then, just because that's the nature of living, right? That's the nature of being a soul. That's the nature of progressing and growing, right? I mean, I wouldn't think. Would you think that environment? Would you think that the environment is for you or against you, like innately? And that's kind of something that I think kind of comes from a nature nurture standpoint, right? And you know, if you nurture someone to think that the environment is here for you to be nurtured, right? The environment is here for you to grow. I feel as though it's kind of the same concept of, you know, if we don't tell kids that they can't fly, they'll be flying within 100 years, right? Unprompted, just because of the nature of someone saying you can't do something, right? Someone who tells people that they can't do something should not get in the way of people who are actually doing it. These things are juicing up a storm. I might end up having to store the rest of these things. That's the one thing I will say. Like, even though I'm getting more juice per unit, it feels like from this batch of limes, it's a lot more intensive. Because remember, right? Even with this is just going back into a numbers game, right? And how many motions if I had to go into a computing stage, because this is also part of this exercise, right? That all the things that I'm doing, none of them are automated, right? They're incorporating a human experience into my life that allows me to think aloud and enjoy your company as well as enjoy my own company, and into thinking that this is where we go from here in this squeezing, right? So with that in mind, you have to really take into consideration your numbers. And for me, right, when you slice 165 lemons, right, so 165, so that's 100, 120, 120, 120, right, 120 plus 200, 120 plus 200 equals 320 plus 10, right, equals 330. Did I do that math right? 200 plus 120 equals 320, and then 320 plus 10 equals 330. So 330, right? Am I doing that right? Yeah. Yeah, because 15, 15, 150 times 2 plus 15 times 2. So, anywho, 330, right? That's 330 units that I am dicing, slicing, and hushing up. This right here, we came in at a count of 212. So that's 448, 424. And that adds up. That adds up to a lot of motion, right? Actually, matter of fact, I'm wasting a motion by reaching in. Reaching in. Have you hurt your shoulder? And like I said, these are the kind of things that when I look to share this process, those are some of the things that you come to recognize, right? As far as working smarter, and sometimes working smarter is working safer. Give me a second here. Let's make adjustments. Like I said, it's so one hand stage, right? So be patient with me. Be patient with me. It's fine by me. You never leave. You can stay like this forever. It's fine by me. Yeah, that's the verse. It has to be. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm saying it has to be like, you know, if I don't, then, you know, off with your head. No. Which reminds me, we need to get back acquainted with the Gambit of Queens, right? And I'm saying that as far as chess. Chess is definitely something that as I ramp up a project in another dimension, right? This is tragic in the kitchen, but tragic in different other spaces, ramping up different projects. So if you're looking for any type of involvement come August, then reach out to me. It's a scoring endeavor, but I think that's going to be fun. But it's going to get there. I'm going to go ahead and come off here and really put in a focus to to squeeze these out, because I think if I put on some music, I might, like I said, I might share the playlist. I still need to figure out how to get to sharing a playlist. And like I said, and I'm not saying it as if it's something that is, I don't know how to work this confangled thing. No, for me, it's a different annoyance of I know how it works and it's not working, or it's working in a way that I know it's designed to make it not work and frustrate me. Right? And it's like, who thinks like that? The person who's frustrated at the computer. That's who thinks. That's who thinks like that, right? I mean, like I said, I'm saying that because I've had different phone calls and different clients in different realms. Like I said, during the waking hours of a day lark, right, or the sleeping hours of a night owl. My primary uh, my primary toolbox is technical, and when you can't seem to get the computer to work, right, then it makes for a time. With that in mind, since it makes for a time, about Lyme, right? Hashtag about Lyme. Stay up to date. Catch chapter 2. By the time you see chapter 2 might honestly just might be, you know, might not even be a whole chapter. It might be, and it's not. It can't be a. This is a monologue, right? And I'm saying as far as trying to think, the epilogue, the prologue, epilogue, monologue. Is it? Can you have internal log? Is there internal log? Like, because there's intermission, right? We won't get into it. We're gonna get into this. You guys take care of yourself. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay absolutely in pursuit of your happiness and your healthy, right? Life is for living, life is for celebrating, and life is for growing in the greatest way that you can. So whatever that looks like for you, it is all about life, more life. So if you don't have life, you need to get more life. And when you don't have more life, you need to go get a life, right? Get a life. And again, a life is one that makes you healthy. It is one that keeps you well, and it's one that keeps you happy. If you cannot figure that out for yourself, I got a tragic story for you.